Everyone in the recon party had been scattered to different locations, but still, they had a central idea of where they needed to go. However, that would be a lot easier said than done, as the various Soul Reapers did not intend on letting Ichigo, Clark, or their friends do as they please inside of the Sarate. At this point in the story, battles that are taking place will be a bit different from the original timeline. While I could go into detail about each fight that does and doesn't take place, for the most part, many of them do end up staying the same. So I will give a brief overview of some of the battles and the events that took place around the beginning of the entry into the Soul Society. As in the original timeline, Ichigo and the others, while separated in various locations within the Sarate, would encounter lower Soul Reaper soldiers. Facing off against them wouldn't be too much difficulty. As far as describing how their fighting styles would differ or change from the original timeline, in the cases of individuals such as Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad, say for Chad using the power of an imbued Kryptonian metal sledgehammer, powered up and amplified through his spiritual power, none of their fights really would change from the original timeline in this regard. However, the added benefit of having Clark, Lois, and Orihime, additional powerful warriors, and additional powerful skills would prove to be useful in this fight. First, let's examine the case of Orihime. Just as in the original timeline, Orihime would still have access to her Shun Shun Rika, the usage of her spirit energy harbored in the pair of hairpins that she had been given by her brother. The Shun Shun Rika would be composed of 6 spirits, fairy-like creatures that acted as the hairpins to the clips of her hair and could be used in various forms. Depending on their combination, they could be used for attack, defense, and especially for healing, which Orihime had taken a special liking to. But in this story, there was more to Orihime than met the eye. That came in the form of her familial bonds. As you know, in the original story, Orihime and her brother came from a rather broken home. A drunken father, and a mother who worked a rather unsavory job. Because of this, the children were raised in abuse and turmoil, eventually leading to the children running away from home after her elder brother turned the age of 18. But they weren't entirely on their own. At least on their mother's side, they had an uncle by the name of Guy Gardner. He could never be around as much as he would have wanted to, and despite his efforts to try to get his baby sister back on track, she continued to live the lifestyle that she chose. And as for the marriage mate she chose as well, he didn't really much care for him at all. They never knew much about Uncle Guy. They just knew that he was rather important, a military man of sorts, and he was constantly on the move. But he always stopped by, bringing gifts, money, or anything else that the children might need. About 4 years before Orihime's brother passed away, they both tragically lost their uncle. He didn't even have a funeral. No one came to wake or for his mourning, and he didn't have much to leave behind. Just a few miscellaneous objects and other possessions. But among them, there was one that he gave to Orihime. It was kept in a specially made box. It was a ring. An odd green emerald-like ring with a strange insignia on it. Orihime had never thought much of it until now, but she always kept it as a keepsake. She felt like it connected her to the uncle that she loved so much. It was during her training with Yoruichi that, for some reason, not just the hairpins that she had been given by her brother, but also, she felt like the power of the ring was calling to her. When Yoruichi looked into it, much to her and everyone else's surprise, Yoruichi knew exactly what this ring was. And more importantly, she wondered why Orihime would be in possession of one. Recalling to a flashback. Training. 3 weeks before Ichigo and Clark's trip to the Soul Society. So this is what you have in your possession, Yoruichi would say. My Uncle Guy gave it to me. You say Guy, as in Guy Gardner? Yeah, you knew my uncle, Yoruichi? I didn't know him per se, but I knew of him. I'm surprised that you don't know the significance of this ring, Orihime. It's one of the most powerful weapons in the universe. Oh wait, what now? Lois would chime in. A powerful weapon? Chad said. No offense, but it looks like just an ordinary ring. Of course, that's what it seems. But weapons can take any form. You should never be one to underestimate them. Especially you two, Chad. And especially you, Lois. I'm still surprised that you had something like that in your possession. What, this phone thingy? I mean, I don't know why my spiritual energy was calling to it. I don't even know how my grandfather would have had something like this in his possession. I mean, the guy practically has Alzheimer's and can never really remember a thing, and it's just... Yes, these truly are strange times indeed, Yoruichi would say. For power such as yours to all be manifesting all at once, this couldn't be a coincidence. But perhaps it's for the best that all of this is now coming to light. Your powers will serve you well. And for you, Orihime, I will tell you more about your uncle. With help from Yoruichi, Orihime would learn more about the Green Lantern Corps, the existence of an intergalactic space cop patrol system. I mean, this all sounded like something straight out of the comic books, but it was true. Although, as Yoruichi explained all of this begged the question, why did Guy Gardner's ring not return back to where it came from? After all, if a lantern's ring is supposed to find the new chosen successor when they die, then why had it remained dormant with Orihime for all this time? Yoruichi would suspect that due to Earth having more than one lantern, and due to Earth having lantern reserves and those who served in different core members of the Lantern League, then it would only make sense that this ring wasn't especially made to find another host. It was akin to a backup, if you will. Still powerful, but in the end, nothing all that special. And the reason why it wasn't active was because it wasn't charged. As Yoruichi would explain, the lanterns drew their power from the Green Lantern's core, a core of energy found on their home planet. The home planet core had smaller cores, smaller lanterns, that the normal Lantern Corps members would often bring with them to charge up, kind of like a battery. But since Orihime didn't have the lantern itself, the ring could basically be considered a dud. But that's when Yoruichi had a different idea. The ring could still be used. It just needed a new energy source. Her spiritual energy. After learning how to infuse her spiritual energy into the ring itself, Orihime would inadvertently reactivate it once again, causing the ring to sparkle with an emerald glow around her finger. The power and the aura that came along with it. A Green Lantern ring charged with spiritual energy instead of just willpower. Truly a dangerous combination. But what can I do with it? Orihime would ask. Just think of something. Anything you want. And it will be given to you. Oh, I know what I want. I know what I want right now. Orihime raised her hand into the air, and created a green loaf of bread. She went to take a bite and, well, kind of tastes like bread. Let me have one more bite. I mean, it tastes like bread, but I don't really feel the bread. You know what I mean? You know what? Maybe I'll just take one more bite and Orihime, stop eating it. What? What am I doing? I mean, you're just eating your own spiritual energy. You might make it seem like bread, and you've done a pretty good job of it, but it's not really bread. You can create anything with just your willpower and your mind alone. As long as you keep the ring charged with your spiritual energy, then you'll have almost a bountiful amount of power that you can use. Although it will be proportional to the amount of power that you possess. Perhaps if you can get others to charge it for you, then there's even more power at your disposal. Wow, that really is nifty, huh? Lois said. You can actually create anything with that, Orihime? I wonder. Orihime raised her hand again, and this time she created a whole pile of green constructed bread. With this at my disposal, no bread will be out of my sight. In brightest day and blackest night, all bread will be mine and will be set right. I promise in the name of... That's not how the saying goes, Yororichi would say. Still, there's no denying it. You have been given an amazing power from people who loved you very much. Your uncle and your brother. I agree. I never really had much family in my life. And yet, when I have both of these possessions with me, it feels like they're always with me at all times. Like my uncle and my brother are always fighting with me, always by my side. That is the feeling you must hold on to, Yororichi would say. The power that you derive is not just from your spirit alone, from the spirit of your loved ones, from those who you know will continue to watch over you, and whose love you will always keep in your heart. As long as you stay focused on that, as long as that remains your center, your power will be bountiful and limitless. And through your will, there is nothing that you cannot achieve. Orihime took that lesson to heart, one that she would always remember. In the meantime, as the group continued to make their way through the Sarate, Clark and Ichigo would run into very powerful and respectable opponents. Ichigo would come face to face with Renji, while Clark would face off against a member of Squad 11, Ikkaku. As for Ganju and for Lois, they had the misfortunes of running into Ayasagawa, fellow member of Squad 11. As in the original timeline, Ichigo would defeat Renji, and as for Clark, he would battle and defeat Ikkaku. For Clark, and for his part, he didn't really have any strong tie to wanting to destroy any of the people he was fighting against. Unlike Ichigo, Clark didn't have a thirst for battle, at least not in a bloodlusted type of way. And that wasn't even to say that Ichigo was bloodlusted, but more so he had a short temper, and he had a knack for pissing people off, and he had a knack for making a situation a whole lot worse. There wasn't a fight that Ichigo didn't like, and there weren't fists that Ichigo weren't willing to collide with people's faces. But for Clark, he just didn't vibe that way. Sure, to help people in a time of need, no problem. If he had to stand up to someone that was being a bully, absolutely. But fighting against these Soul Reapers, he didn't feel any animosity towards them. Not even against Ikkaku. Despite his continued boastful words and his bragging, the only thing Clark felt was, well, a sense of empathy. The guy was just trying to do his job. After all, they had broken in here. And it was something else. Deep down, Clark knew that, for whatever reason, if they had made their laws in such a way and Rukia broke them, then in their eyes, they were simply following through on that law. To them, executing Rukia was what they viewed as right. However, Clark also had his own sense of right and wrong, and he believed wholeheartedly that executing Rukia was wrong. After defeating Ikaku, he would wait for the bald-headed member of Squad 11 to awaken. As he did, Ikaku had the fortune, or misfortune, of seeing someone with a bright-eyed smile waiting for him. "Oh good, you're awake." "What the?" "Oh, it's you. Big Red, or Big Blue. I don't know. What, do you make purple or something?" No, not really. The style of clothing, well, it came from my father." Then your father must have one messed up sense of fashion, if you go around dressed like that. "Well, I don't know if it's a Kryptonian thing, or if it's a..." "Kryptonian? The fuck? You're a Kryptonian?" Yeah, I am. What's it to you?" "Kryptonians don't come around here. Haven't seen one in forever. Thought they were all dead, but here you are, Ryoka. A Kryptonian actually managed to survive that tragedy. Congrats. How does it feel being the only one?" I can't say I'm entirely sure. I mean, it's a bit sad and depressing to think that all of my people are dead and gone, but if I survive, then there have to be others, shouldn't there? Maybe, maybe not. Who really knows? Who really cares? Why did you spare me? Huh? You denied me a proper death, and now I have to live with the shame of being left alive by my enemy. If you have any self-dignity or worth, you will just finish me off now while you have the chance. If not, don't plan on doing that." "What? Why?" "Why would I kill you? I have no reason to take your life. You haven't done anything wrong. Nothing deserving of death." "You truly don't understand the way of the warrior. It's a code. It's what we live by. We can't live with such shame." "What shame is there in living?" Clark would ask him. "You know, where I'm from, people talk a lot about honor. And I respect the customs and the culture of the people that raised me. But, in truth, I find it all to be backwards. Not everything can just be made up for with giving a life. It's never that black and white. Sure, you might think that dying is a sacred honor to a warrior. But if you ask me, it's nothing but a waste. When you die, that's it. Sure, at least around these parts, death doesn't seem to be the end of anything. But I have to imagine that if you die here, then it's really over. There can't be anywhere else to go after a soul is dead." "What's your point?" "My point is, instead of fighting simply to die, you should fight to live. Fight to grow. Fight to improve. You say you have the spirit of a warrior and you want to get stronger, right? Well, how can you do that when you're dead? When you're dead and gone, you can't get stronger. You can't improve. You reach the end of all of your potential. You're strong, really strong. And I have a feeling you could get even stronger if you wanted. But if I kill you now, then you deny yourself that opportunity, that chance. For Ikaku, he'd never thought of it that way. If he had really died, then that would be the end. And he didn't want that. So I'm being lectured by a Ryoka Kryptonian who views himself as a philosopher. Philosopher? No, I'm not even close to that. I'm just saying, value life. Why exactly are you all here? We're here to rescue Rukia. The prisoner? That's what you want. Oh, that's rich. Really, really rich. Do you know the type of people you're gonna have to come across? You really think it's gonna be that easy for you? There are other lieutenants, the captains. You really think you can just beat them all? If that's what we have to do, then so be it. And you think they'll go down so easily, huh? You think you just have to say that you're gonna do it and that's enough, and what else is there? You're right. Everything isn't always black and white, Clark would say. But this situation is. There are only two outcomes. Either we save Rukia or Rukia dies. It's that simple. There isn't any other option. So what else am I supposed to say? Maybe we'll beat them. Maybe we'll win. That implies the possibility of failure. And I'm sorry, my friend, but I have no intentions on failing. My brother needs me, and so do my friends, especially Rukia. So we are going to save her. It's just that simple. Well, if that's the case, then let me leave you with a warning. How many people are in your party? Ikaku figured that if they were going to attempt a raid like this, then they had to have brought in at least a decent-sized army. I'd say about 6 of us and the cat. What? Only 6? And a cat? You can't be serious. Fine then. Out of all of you, who would you say is the strongest? The strongest? Huh. Out of our group, I'd say it's a toss-up between either me or my brother. You or your brother? And who's that? My brother looks like a soul reaper like a lot of you, but trust and believe, he's all human, just with the power of a soul reaper. His name's Ichigo. Has orange spiky hair. I see. Well, Mr. Clark, you and your brother, I'd advise that you both be very careful. If you come across my captain, he's definitely going to take an interest in you. He only chases after the strong. And if what you've said is true, then you've given him a bountiful hunt to fight against strong opponents. Your captain? And who's that? Captain of Squad 11, Kenpachi Zaraki. Taking the warning that he had been given, Clark would leave Ikaku before reconvening with Ganju and Lois, who had thankfully managed to defeat Ayasagawa. They would manage to catch up with Ichigo, who had completed his fight against Renji. Along the way, they would meet an unlikeliest of ally. You could say he was on the lower end of the totem pole when it came to the Serite, someone who was a glorified chore boy. His name was Hanataro. He had been helping in the caretaking of Rukia and was the one who would clean her cell and provide her food at the proper time. He had actually grown quite fond of Rukia, and he didn't believe that the poor girl was deserving of death, but he knew all too well that he didn't have the strength to do anything. But if he could help guide the squad, leading to her cell and having the means of opening it and freeing her, then at the very least he wanted to try and help any way that he could. In the meantime, both Uryu and Orihime were continuing to make their way towards the cell tower where Rukia was being kept. And for Chad, he had found his own destination to head to Rukia. 3 groups in all. Well, say for Chad, who was simply a group of 1. However, unfortunately for all of them, the kid gloves were coming off. They'd managed to get through some Soul Reapers, even battle a few lieutenants. But now it was time for them to deal with the real heavy hitters. The captains. For Chad, he came face to face with the captain of Squad 8, Shunsui, along with his lieutenant Nanao. Ah, you must be the Ryoka that everyone's been talking about. First, can I offer you a drink? Huh? A drink? I hate to be the one drinking alone. I believe that maybe we can talk things out and be sensible. I really don't want to have to take your life, kid. Oh yeah. That's the good stuff. You need to take this serious, Captain, Nanao would say. I am. I'm just trying to be hospitable. For Uryu and Orihime, they came face to face with the captain of Squad 12, Mayuri, along with his lieutenant, Nemu. Well, well, well. Look what we have here. Ryoka. And not just any Ryoka. A Quincy. Quite fascinating indeed. I was pretty sure that I had worked on all of the Quincy's. And now a fresh new specimen. And, young girlie, you. Me? Orihime would say. Yes, you. Who else would I be talking to at a time like this? On your left hand, is that a... yes. A lantern ring. I've been meaning to get my hands on one of those. I've tried to get into contact with that blasted Tomare, but he's always being so stingy and stuck up. Oh, but no one will care if I take it off of a Ryoka. That provides me with great opportunity. Nemu, make the necessary preparations, and make it snappy. Yes, Master Mayuri. You say you worked on Quincy's? Uryu would say. Oh yes, Quincy's of all shapes and sizes. I remember when we had the glory of hunting them all down. Oh yes, I was like a kid in a candy store. It was like I had so many to dissect, of every age and race and shape and size. I got a chance to get very intimate with them. If I had to say, very few even crossed my mind, but there was one, an older gentleman. Yes, I remember him quite well. He put up quite a fight back then. He even managed to take out a few Soul Reapers before we managed to pin him down. He was quite a fighter. He never left my mind. Not once. Is that right? Uryu? Are you? Oh, I'm fine, Orihime. Before we save Rukia, I need to kill this bastard. Finally, Ichigo and Clark, as they continued to make their way towards the Tower of Penance, they felt an amazing aura, horrifyingly filled with bloodlust, pure unbridled power, pressuring themselves and the others. Hanataro had all but passed out and was drooling everywhere. Ganju could barely keep himself aright. For Lois, she fell to her knees in that moment. This feeling, she didn't like it. Clark would immediately rush over to her as he wrapped his cape around her. Lois, hang on. It's fine. Just hold on to me. Clark, I don't like this. It's just... Guys, what's the... So, I finally found you. The Ryoka. The Shinigami kid. Orange spiky hair, just like he said. And you, the boy in red and blue with an S on his chest. The last Kryptonian who's managed to learn how to use soul power. Oh, this is great. And just who the hell are... Don't act like you don't know who I am. You should already know by now. Clark glared at him seriously. Was this who Ikaku was speaking about? The captain of Squad 11, right? You must be Kenpachi Zaraki. Bingo, kid. So, tell me, which one of you is the strongest? This concludes Bleach Legacy. What if Superman was in Bleach? Season 2, Part 4. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is Power Core Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned tomorrow as we continue with the mid-season finale for Bleach Legacy. What if Superman was in Bleach? Season 2, Part 5, the mid-season finale. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with Power Core Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.